Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to race number 8, the season finale for the TNR DRP Stadium Super Truck Series, as we get set under the lights here at the Homestead Miami Speedway to officially crown ourselves a champion. I'm Seth Cole, soon to be joined by Anthony McCrory. Here this evening, we had the big question pre-race of would we be running the speedway portion of this 1.5 mile track, or would we be running the road course configuration, which is available and not many series end up running? We were told it is indeed going to be the speedway segment that is going to be the determination for tonight's season finale race. As mentioned, the championship basically all but decided. It's going to be made official at the conclusion of this evening's event. Josh Edmondson has been on a tear this year. He has won just about everything in sight. Driver that has won the races he has not is his teammate Conor Parisi, but there's another 7 drivers in the field that are still looking for their first wins on the season, and here tonight might be their chance because we observed these drivers in practice. A lot of pack racing going on, double wide and 3 wide, ability to be able to get runs and make moves, and with that type of pack racing, kind of liken it a bit to a super speedway, big opportunity for a level playing field for drivers that have had really stellar seasons like a Bill Edwards or a Vincent Valvano, Stephen Cageman, to finally maybe be able to find victory lane at season's end, not win the championship, but at least end out the year with a W. Races should be pretty fast here tonight as well. Drivers averaging between 40 to 45 seconds a lap, and there's only going to be 5 laps for the heats, 15 laps for the B main, and only a 30 lap main event in the A main. It'll be interesting to see if the 30 laps are going to put us into a situation where fuel might be a concern for these drivers. Of course, the big question for these trucks, which aren't necessarily built for speedway racing, will be just how much speed can they carry through the corner, especially through the center. These trucks don't necessarily turn left all the time. They're built for the left and right hand turns. The suspension entirely different when it comes to the dirt tracks and the street courses we've seen them on during the course of this year. So it'll be interesting to see if they will be off the throttle a lot or if they'll be able to flat foot it through these corners. And with that being said, how much fuel will they be using when they make it onto these long front and back straightaways? 9 drivers scheduled to take the green flag here tonight. Bill Edwards right now scheduled to be the pole sitter over Vincent Valvano. 5/1000ths of a second between those two for the pole position on the outside of the front row. Josh Edmondson, the eventual champion, will be rolling off from 3rd. Mike Tellier 4th. Stephen Cageman, Tristan Maher will be in row 3. Conor Parisi and Trevor Teal making his debut here tonight will be in row 4. That looks like Garrett Gleason will be rolling off from shotgun as we prepare here for our first heat race. Gleason, Parisi, Cageman, Josh Edmondson, and Bill Edwards going to be taking part in this one. And we've, of course, got the battle for the other positions in the point standings outside of the championship, and Bill Edwards, Tristan Maher, and Conor Parisi all involved in that one. So with that being said, Anthony, just how important is for those 3 drivers in particular in these heat races to rack up those points that are paid out for the heat races and, of course, the upcoming mains?
Well, everyone wants to focus on who wins the championship, but obviously there's more positions than just first place, and we tend to overlook them. You can't overlook them. That's valuable standings that you can carry in. It's not going to get you the championship, but it will get you momentum heading into another season. It will also get you bragging rights. It'll also get you a pretty good prize too. So always want to be able to finish well, and we have a lot of drivers still here that can get this second place position. It's totally up for grabs. Parisi right now, I believe, has got the advantage, but it's so close between for second place. Now, again, Josh Edmondson has taken this championship for all intents and purposes, but again, that all important second place between 3 to 4 drivers, that is crucial, and that's a good talking point for the entire night.
What are we thinking about this particular track? It's a bit of a curveball, I would think, for these guys. It's only the second oval that we've been at this season. We could also count the short track of Bristol, but that race, it's so close and it's a short track, so these drivers have to kind of keep their heads on a swivel. Does this alleviate some pressure on these drivers in terms of the race they have to prepare for here tonight, or is it even as much of a challenge as it would be if we were running a dirt track course or a road course?
Well, definitely it's going to be full throttle the entire way around as the green flag is out. It's going to be akin to super speedway racing for these trucks. These don't go very fast, and all credit to them. They're not designed to go fast in a long-term sense. They're designed for quickly off the pace. They're torque-driven vehicles. These cars do not have very high top-end speed. That being said, as you can see, Edmondson all over the back end of his teammate. It does provide some good racing when you get them packed up, because we're only topping out about 300, or make that 130 miles an hour. 300 miles an hour would be a little bit insane, but driving around right now, so no one's able to get away. No one's able to get out to a huge advantage, and that's going to bring in these guys from behind. They can strategize. What part of the racetrack do I gain an advantage? Do I try to dip it down on the apron to see if I can find some grip down there? And the fact that these trucks are very high off the ground, very little in the way of downforce, I wouldn't imagine that they're the easiest things to turn around laps at this track.
Saw there a slam by Josh Edmondson into the back bumper of Conor Parisi, and then Stephen Cageman gets even more into the back bumper, nearly turns him around. I think our rear cams are going to get some pretty good looks here tonight, and let me get out my bucket list here and check off calling a 2-truck tandem with stadium trucks off of it, because I never thought I would say something like that, but we saw it in the first lap of this Homestead race.
Yeah, bumping down into the turns and on those straightaways. These two, especially the teammates of Edmondson and Parisi, they want to batch up, and look at that. That's the kind of speed you can get. They were in a line, they were able to form up, and that is the kind of runs that you're able to produce if you're in a line or if you're out in the front. He's noticed the way that Edmondson's able to get away from these guys through the turns. He's able to arc it in, but as soon as these guys pick up speed out onto the straight, you can see the bottom. Cageman's lined himself up with Edwards behind him. Look at the teammates again trying to beat each other out of the way. Here comes Cageman to the inside.
He's got a push there from the 50 of Bill Edwards. As mentioned, with this type of super speedway racing that we're going to see here tonight, could be a level playing field and a chance for an underdog that's been outside the top 10 on the regular or just inside of the top 5 behind the teammates of Edmondson and Parisi to be able to snag a W before season's end. But another thing that we got to wonder here too, noticing a lot of the contact that's taking place of drivers trying to bump each other is upsetting the rear end of these trucks. Now we know that they're built for sliding around, but when you consider the banking here and the slick corners at Homestead, just how much of the hands full is it for these guys when that back end steps down here?
Well, if they get if they get hit in the middle of the turn like that, then it can be kind of dangerous. Although it's easier to control it in the center of the turn, you have the banking to help you save the truck. Once you're on the straights, especially the transition out of the turns, that's where we're going to see a lot of these guys struggle. We saw it happen at Iowa, even though that was the road configuration. We did see it when they were trying to come out on the straights. We saw them getting upset and out of hand, and that could also play into this race. Wheel spin. These trucks are torquey, so if you get them sideways, they might start spinning, and then it's all but impossible to start to save them. But we're on the white flag lap, and I gotta say, for as much as we've been saying that they're hard to control, they can beat and bang, and it doesn't look like it upsets them too much. How about using the bump and run at a speedway in a super speedway fashion, and you don't lose any time?
At the top, though, we got a run here with the teammates. Oh, I think that Parisi lost his drafting partner. He's going to try and side draft Bill Edwards. Stephen Cageman's going to pick up the heat win here. And one talking point that we'll touch a little bit more on here when we get to the second heat is we know that at the street courses, at the road courses, at the dirt road courses, there's not a whole lot of boundaries that these drivers have to adhere to. We saw most of that final couple of laps how Cageman pinned his truck down to that white line. I'm wondering if that white line is considered a boundary here tonight, or if they'll adhere to basically no boundaries, and if the apron into 3 and 4 or even into 1 and 2 might end up coming into play later on.
It all depends on if they can hold it down on that inside line. I don't think that they can do it, especially with how limited the banking is down there. And we're seeing them. They're not lifting too much going through these turns as it is. And with how high these trucks up, I don't know if you want to upset the balance of it at that top speed. We're not used to seeing them running consistently at 130 miles an hour all the way around the full lap. They're usually on the brakes, slowing down their average speed somewhere around 70 to 80. So seeing them run at this top speed this much, I don't know if they'd be smart to go down there. I don't know if it's even faster to go down there. We'll have to find out if that is the case. If it is a boundary line, then they will obviously not be able to do that regardless. Of course, we have a very hard boundary on the outside of the racetrack, which is something that these guys haven't had to deal with much of this season. Instead of Bristol and some of the oval road course configurations that we have, but full oval tonight. And as you mentioned, Seth, it is the mile-and-a-half configuration, Homestead, Miami. First race done and dusted, second race still to come, and we have the two main event races. Are you impressed so far with the way these guys have been handling? Because I know I am.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just sitting here with a smile on my face watching these guys pack race with machines I didn't know could even pack race. Trevor Teal going to be leading us to the green for this one. Tristan Maher was to his outside. Vincent Valvano, Mike Tellier in that familiar pink 97 there as well in this second and final heat, preparing us the field, the inverted field, for the upcoming B main and eventually the 30-lap main event. Looks like it's going to be, well, it was Maher on the top, then it was Teal on the inside. Looks like it's doing Maher on the outside line, half a truck length advantage. And one thing I wanted to state here is there's some contact. Credit to iRacing for bringing out the Pace truck this week. Obviously a Pace car that is able to at least look somewhat similar to the size of these stadium trucks. I remember back to last week when that poor little Corvette Pace car looked like it was going to get swallowed up by these machines.
Oh yeah, well, I believe it was a Porsche, but
I think it was a Porsche. You're right. That was even worse.
Same size, the Carrera, I believe it is, but even still, tiny car compared to these massive machines. You don't really get a full scale about how big these trucks are until you stand next to one and you have another car for comparison. Compared to a GT3, 3 wide for the lead, by the way. We'll get on that in a minute. But 3 wide, Vincent Valvano to the inside will slide up. Oh, but look at the run. Look at the run that Tellier gets in the middle of the corner. He's going to try and stick it up the inside. He might be able to do it. As soon as you get to the lead, you just stop. It's like you put on the brakes, the guys behind you wheel on through. Tellier, I think, led the lap, but that's incredible. There's still 3 wide.
Tristan Maher will not come off the top side. He's running high, wide, and handsome, and he's making it work. Tellier pushes up, almost makes contact with him. Valvano hooks the bottom, and Trevor Teal's trying to figure out, is there a lane for me to maybe force the issue and take it 4 wide down the back straightaway?
Oh, this reminds me of the Freedom 100 back in 2011, I believe it was, when they went 3 wide for pretty much the entirety of the lap, and then even 3 wide still when they went 4 wide for the finish. You think that they might be able to do that here. There's plenty of room to do it, and the way that they've been racing, oh, look at the crossover from Maher trying to get into it. Contact made!
Save it! Oh,
Oh,
no,
he
he's going
didn't.
around.
Oh, couldn't do
Tellier.
it.
Man, he gave that a heck of a try. Oh,
And
no
he'll
caution
get
gonna come
going.
out to save him, I don't think.
No yellow. We still we stay under green. You want to think though that maybe during the main event that might have been a yellow.
For sure, and of course this is gonna hurt him as far as his finishing position here in the heat, but should start him up on the front row for the B main as Valvano goes to the point. A thing I was kind of wondering here too, a lot of names very familiar in the field, like Vincent Valvano and Mike Tellier. We saw them on Sunday nights taking part in the TNR Sunday Super Speedway Series. You gotta wonder what they're thinking as opposed to the Nationwide Xfinity cars that they were racing on Sunday nights, now to Super Speedway racing with these Stadium Super Trucks. As this should be a doozy of a finish. Maher on the top, Valvano on the bottom, and Teal's searching. He's looking for a lane, trying to figure out where he wants to go.
And it looks like he's gonna push. He's gonna push Maher down the back straightaway. Now, 2-car tandem that was famous in the stock cars. It's been reinvigorated with these super trucks. I don't know if he's gonna be able to stay hooked up. Certainly not. Here comes the run. Now, Teal's got the best opportunity. He's gonna try and arc it in. I think he might have washed up the track a little bit too much. Drag race to the stripe. Outside line with the advantage. It's gonna be Tristan Maher taking heat 2. And if that's any indication of what we're going to see in the main events, I am ecstatic to watch how this unfolds.
I think unofficially it was 33 one-thousandths of a second there at the start-finish line. Maher over Valvano. Trevor Teal, Mike Tellier going to complete the finish results from this heat. And I'm with you. I think that we're in for a photo finish in the B main. I think we're in for a photo finish in the A main. Again, All bets are off for these guys now. Granted, there are drivers that want to improve a position or two in the final standings, but everybody wants to finish out the season with a victory, and I think they're going to do everything they possibly can within their power to be able to do so, even if it's just by a nose to the start-finish line, as these drivers now prepare for what's going to be a 15-lap B main event.
And we have to think about some strategy now, because it wasn't so much, in fact, not at all in these heat races, but we now, it might not affect this race either, but when we get to the A main, there's only been one race so far this season that we have had a, a period of refueling, and that is at Mosport. That was a long race. This isn't necessarily going to be a long race, but you're constantly on the throttle. What saved these guys from Iowa, as we talked to the drivers, they were running short on fuel towards the end of the race, but what saved them at Iowa was that they had the infield section that they could get off the throttle and feather it around if they wanted to save some fuel. They don't have that anymore. It's full throttle all the way around. Do these guys even have enough fuel to make it to the end of the A main? This is the B main. They might be able to do it in the B main, but once we get to the A main, how's the strategy going to come into play while they're battling side by side, 3-4 wide for position?
That's going to be really interesting. There were actually two other tracks where fuel came into play. Crandon, a number of drivers having to pit in the closing stages. Only one driver, Bill Edwards, was able to make it the entire scheduled distance. And, of course, Detroit Belle Isle as well. Just too many laps and way too long of a road course for them to be able to make it on what they had in the tank. Is it possible to clutch in a stadium super truck? I don't know. Maybe we'll get the answer to that here tonight, as Josh Edmondson, Mike Telly are going to lead us down here for the B main. They bring Garrett Gleason, Trevor Teal, Conor Parisi as the top five, Valvano, Edwards, Maher, and Cageman. That was the rest of the field, as they're slicing and dicing already going into turn one.
The lead is Edmondson, about a truck's length, maybe 2 trucks length back to Gleason and Tellier. And Gleason has had some interesting luck this season, has not been one of the drivers we associate with the top 10, not to his anything fault of his own, but just his had not had the speed and has been involved in quite a number of incidences. But now the playing field's been leveled. He has a chance. He's trying to hold it top on the middle line. Third place. Look at the teammates battling. Parisi and Edmondson, they're trying to work together, but the problem is that they're not going to be able to get out in front for very long. Here comes Gleason on the outside with Tellier.
Here, gets a little loose there as a little contact with his, I believe it was his right rear panel, courtesy of Mike Tellier. That's going to lose that top side some momentum. But this is such a unique situation for these guys as well, because you talk about the teammates there with Edmondson and Parisi, and when we talk about them as teammates, they drive for the same team, but they really weren't able to work together in the previous races. Now everybody out there is trying to find teammates, because you need one to get to the front in this super speedway type racing.
Look at Bill Edwards. He had a shot, almost tried to pull alongside, couldn't quite do it. He's going to have a run now off of the exit of the turn 4. Now, Maher was thinking about going to the inside, but then he switches up to the outside. That little bit of a dodge might have cost some speed for Edwards. Now we're on the outside. I'm trying to think of what's the faster way. You lose some time on corner exit around the outside, but then you gain it going down the straightaways. Is that better than just holding it on the inside? Because right now, 2 truck tandeming on the inside is the teammates of Edmondson and Parisi. They've been able to figure out how to make it work. But on the top side, you've still got drivers in contention. If I were them, honestly, I'd start to jump in line and follow the leaders.
I agree with you for sure. I think that top side, I think the issue is that Tristan Maher was getting just too much of a run, maybe running a little bit lower than Bill Edwards. He was getting too close to that left rear quarter panel. I've been noticing these two on the bottom. Watch how Conor Parisi is going to jump. Well, that time he didn't, but the last time through 3 and 4, he jumped about a half groove higher. So he was kind of almost diamonding the corner, getting a much lower exit off of turn number 4, and then was able to line the bumpers right back up with Josh Edmondson. He does it here again. These two have been able to keep the tandem going, keep the momentum going, but there's 3 on the top now. Tristan Maher's going to be the lead truck. Edwards behind him in second, and then Cageman jumps up there as well, our Heat 1 winner.
Now Cageman trying to link up with somebody. Valvano trying to link up with him. The top side hasn't been able to make any headway much. They have made headway. 5 of them on the outside line, 2 on the inside. The inside still prevailing. There's a couple of drivers that have lost pack, though. Teal and Gleason have lost the field. They're going to try and keep up with them, but I've been impressed with this. Whoa! And and that's the danger of taking these trucks with contact.
It looked like a little bit of gap whack. There was definitely space between the back bumper of Maher and the front bumper of Bill Edwards. That's something else we kind of have to bring into the equation. The fact of these guys racing in close proximity, pushing each other, gap whack can certainly play a factor.
Well, that was kind of tough. There's another one. That Bill Edwards has been sideways twice this lap. That is incredible. And that kind of ties into, though, what we were talking about earlier. Yeah, you can save the truck if you're in the turns pretty easily. The banking kind of does assist you in gathering the truck back up. These trucks are, like you said, they're meant to go sideways, and we're going 130 miles an hour. It's super speedway racing, but the bump and run does not necessarily mean that you're getting sent into the outside wall. It just means that you might be sideways for a little bit, as these trucks and these drivers are pretty good at drifting around this track. Right now, Edmondson, I feel like he's being set up here. Well, look at the run that Mayer got. How in the world did Maher get that kind of a run? He's going to go outside the racetrack, though, and that's something else I've noticed. Is if you get that kind of speed in the middle of the turn, you're undoubtedly going to creep up to the outside wall on the way out. You think that's going to play into who might be able to make a pass on what part of the racetrack.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you what, these trucks are so high off the ground, I can't believe the fact that I'm seeing that the side draft actually works. That's how Tristan Maher was able to get such a big run there on the top side. He was pinning Conor Parisi down, getting the side draft off of the 11, allowing him to propel himself up there further to the front. He's now picked up Mike Tellier in the 97. We're going to be side by side. And another thing I want to quickly touch on here, remember we talked to Parisi last week after the Iowa Road Course race. We asked him, how was it that you weren't able to quite get there to your teammate to pick up that victory? He said, because I didn't spend enough time pulling my tires back down. I guarantee you, these tires are burning up right now.
They have to be. They have to be absolutely torched as they're going around the track. And there was some contact back between. Oh, well, there's more contact in the front.
Boy.
Whoa! Maher goes at the outside wall. Almost gets off the wall. Will not make contact, but that's going to upset the two leaders, and here they go. Tellier to the outside, 3 wide, almost 4 wide. I think that Cajun was trying to set it to the inside. He didn't quite get there. 3 wide now for the lead. Parisi in the middle. Tellier on the outside. The below line, it's got Edmondson. Who's going to get the advantage? It looks like it's going to be Edmondson for the moment, but behind him is Canterman trying to find a run. I don't think he can use the apron, but he's going to try and send it anyway.
I think Bill Edwards was willing to go down there with him if indeed that apron was a viable choice. Oh, Tristan Maher up and into the wall. And this is one of those tracks where you get up into the wall, it hugs you in, and it loses you a lot of momentum. Maher going to try and recover. He draws back to the tail end of this group who are battling right now like this is the last lap of the B main. We are just barely halfway through this thing. 3 wide for the top spot again.
It used to be 2, 3 cars at the front. Now look at them, 2 by 2, 3 rows deep, and there's still more trucks behind them as Gleason and Valvano and Maher, everyone up in this top group. Now to the inside, extreme inside goes Cageman. He's run out of momentum. Here comes Tellier with a shot. Here comes Cageman with a shot. He gets propelled. Can he get back on the racing surface? I don't know if he can. He's going to lose the momentum, but on the outside, Tellier's going to push Parisi to the lead.
Here's the answer. The apron apparently is considered inbounds. Only the brave go down there. Cageman's tried a couple times. Bill Edwards has given him a heck of a shot down the front straight with the last couple of laps, but Cageman just not able to hold it down on that rather slick, low-banked area of the racetrack. The teammates trying to block both lanes. You've got Parisi on the top, Edmondson on the bottom. Tellier looking for a lane up top side. Cageman looking for that apron maybe again here on the front straightaway. Edwards was willing to go. He'll get to the inside of Cageman. We'll go 3 wide for third. Edwards might have thoughts for the lead if he gets the left rear quarter panel here into 1.
Tellier was trying to send it at the inside of Edmondson. Couldn't quite do it. Make that Parisi. As Parisi's now got another on the outside. 2 by 2. Still now 4 rows deep. And I've noticed that you get a run, but you can't really take it anywhere. And these drivers have been trying to take it up the middle, but the hole closes up so quickly that you can't really force your way through. Look at Edwards pushing Edmondson on the bottom of the racetrack. He has to back out of it. What he's trying to do is he's trying to push him into the turn, upset the truck, have him right up the racetrack, and then go to the inside. It's not quite working out the way he wants it to, as they're able to whoa it up before the middle of the corner. Here comes Edwards. Can he get to the lead this time around? I don't know if he can or not.
Oh, I think he's clear.
Contact.
That's right. into Edmondson, sends him up into Trevor Teal. They all keep it pointed in the right direction despite the contact, and just like that, Edmondson goes from the lead back to 6th. Now it's Tellier trying to take the fight to Parisi for the top spot.
Parisi's got no teammate left. It's open season for the lead. Now Tellier's trying to figure out a way to get to the inside. He might try to use his front end to get the number 11 out of the way. Edwards is thinking, okay, now what do I gotta do to get around Tellier? Do these two try to form an alliance? Who's gonna take the B-man? We still have 3 laps to go as we cross the stripe. Now Tellier to the inside, trying to get to the advantage. He might have it, you know. To the inside, does he have it? I don't know if he can hold on to it.
About fair play. You saw Edwards kind of dive bombed Edmondson. Edmondson took the dive bomb to the 50 through 1 and 2. He's going to take it 3 wide down the back straightaway. Tellier in the middle of a sandwich here. He looks left, sees Edmondson, looks right, sees Parisi, but now Edwards going to give him the shove he needs to go to the front.
And now Tellier, with a huge advantage, will get to the lead, but that's not necessarily a good thing. We've seen that the leader cannot go anywhere. Now here comes the 2 of them, Parisi, Edmondson, and Edwards now in the mix. Edwards pushing Parisi on the top side. Now Edmondson pushing Tellier on the low side. And Vincent Valvano's behind these guys. It's 2 laps to go. Who's going to form an advantage? We obviously know that the teammates are going to be in alliance, but who's going to go with Tellier? Because right now Tellier's parked the bus on the inside line, and that seems to be the fastest way around this track. Unless there's contact made.
Little rubbing there off a turn 2. Edmondson right now kitty corner to his teammate Conor Parisi. Can't help him. Right now it's Bill Edwards that would be the drafting help for Parisi. Tellier picking up Edmondson on the inside line. We're double wide all the way back through the field again. Tristan Maher up the middle 3 wide with Trevor Teal and Stephen Cageman. That's for the 5th position as we are going to have the white flag waving. Who's going to make it back to the line? How close will the interval be? It's Tellier on the bottom. He bumps Parisi up the track. Tristan Maher nearly loses it there in the middle of the pack there as well. Half a lap to go here. This is just the B main to set up the A main, and this could be another photo finish here tonight.
Did you see the run that Tristan Maher got in the way in? I can't believe he was able to get that much of a run and keep it pinned down. He's probably been saving his tires. 3 wide into 3. Holy cow!
Could be clear.
Look at that! Look at Maher on the outside! Contact was made! Up the middle goes Edmondson and Parisi! Do they try to split them 4 wide, 3 wide, beating and banging to the line? It's gonna be Tellier at the line!
Holy cow! 3 wide for 3rd. Tristan Maher nearly up into the air with contact into the outside wall. And Mike Tellier is going to pick up a heck of a victory here in the B main. Thank goodness they've got this 5-minute warm-up because I need to catch my breath.
Holy cow, I did not know that you could do that with these trucks. This is fantastic stuff.
My goodness.
Congratulations, Tellier, for being able to hold off the charge of not 1, 2, but 5 different drivers behind you. They all had a run. There was no way that Tellier was supposed to be able to do what he just did.
It's difficult enough when you're at a normal super speedway. It doesn't matter if you're in a stock car, if you're in a truck. It's tough enough when they're lined up with a run to be able to throw a block. When you've got a truck where even with the slightest amount of contact is going to send you into a slide and you're going to spend about 2-3 seconds trying to gather that thing back up. He was throwing blocks all over the place, high, low, trying to make sure he kept them all behind him back to the start-finish line. And we've had ourselves now 2 photo finishes, 1 in the second heat, 1 in the B main. I guarantee you we're probably in for another one here in the upcoming A main. But with that being said, looking here at Conor Parisi coming down pit road. Now, it was a little bit of a red herring for us last week at the Iowa Road Course. We saw a couple of drivers testing coming to pit lane, and they didn't have to once we ended up getting to the main event race. But just kind of getting the feeling that pit road is going to play a part in this one. And with that being said, do we see the field get split up from what we saw at the end of the B main? Will it be a completely different look when these guys come around to take the checker in the A main?
Absolutely. I mean, number one, you're going to have more laps. You're going to have a lot more time to think about what you want to do. Secondly, now they know what it was like to run with 9 drivers. You know what you have to do to get around driver. And to be honest, you really have to have a friend if you want to try and get around some of these guys. So it's going to be difficult to watch them have to navigate that. But Seth, it's going to be ever so critical to link up with somebody at the end. We saw that both Edmondson and Parisi, they were able to link up early. They were able to stay glued to each other. And they were basically able to lock out the top 2 for much of the evening. It wasn't until they got separated where you saw that there was a fatal flaw in their design. So what do these guys have to do if they want to take it to some of these drivers that have formed alliances?
Think you kind of half said it right there. I think that B main was the opportunity for drivers to look around, see the alliances that were formed, and now you've got to head into this 30-lap main event, and you've got to do the best you can to break those alliances up. We saw as soon as Edmondson and Parisi got separated, neither one were really able to find themselves another drafting partner to get back up there to the front. Kind of had to make their own way back up there to challenge Mike Tellier for the victory in that B main race. We saw Cageman, he was working with Bill Edwards. We saw Tristan Maher was working with Garrett Gleason. Drivers are taking notices of these duos that formed up in the B main. They are going to try and be the spanner in the works. Break those duos up. Do not allow them to hook up and get the momentum to go to the front.
So as we set them up for our A main, and if you thought that the B main was wild, this one's going to be even more wild. It's going to be an extra amount of laps. These guys are going to have that extra amount of time to think about what they have to do. And this is not for necessarily a championship. There's no championship on the line anymore. As we said at the top of the program, Josh Edmondson has basically got this one locked up. However, second place in the standings still up for grabs, Seth. It's still anyone's game for second place. Those guys that still want to try and get that second place finishing position for the championship, what do they got to do going into this race? Is it more of the same of what they got to do to win the race, or is it kind of more or less just in survival mode?
I'll tell you what, I think that if we had been running the road course configuration of Homestead, that those drivers that are around that second position in the points, they'd be thinking more about the points, thinking more about second in the standings. With the fact that we've got a level playing field here with super speedway type racing, they're just thinking about the win. They could care less about the point stands right now, I think. I think they've got their eye on the prize for P1 in this A main. A lot of these guys wanting to topple Parisi, wanting to top Edmondson to get their first win of the season. And to be honest, you know, if you think about it too, a lot of the races we've had this season, Josh Edmondson, Conor Parisi, they've made it look easy. They've been able to gap the field and have some great battles amongst themselves, but it's been anywhere from 3 to 4 seconds ahead of the next competitor. They had to know coming into tonight, especially with what we saw in practice, the pack racing and everybody, you know, all in close proximity. They had to know that the strategy tonight for everybody in the field was going to be to break them up and try and top them for a victory here tonight. So with that being said, this might be the only race on the season that Josh Edmondson and Conor Parisi are coming in feeling the pressure.
Well, we're getting ready to set them up for our A main. It's going to be fantastic. A longer race, 30 laps on the table instead of our 15. Double the length means double the action. These guys might have to settle into a bit of a wait period for this race because not necessarily for fuel. That's still a question mark, but the tires. You have to wonder just how hot the tires were getting around this racetrack. Again, these tires are not designed for road racing, especially not at this speed. So we'll have to find out what that state will be and if they can hold on for the amount of laps necessary. It'll be Mike Tellier starting on the pole position. It'll be Conor Parisi, Josh Edmondson, Stephen Cageman, Bill Edwards, Valvano, Maher, Teal, and Gleason. That is your starting lineup for our A main. And we're guaranteed all 30 laps of this race. That doesn't mean that we'll run all 30 laps under green. We got lucky the last one out. However, some of these drivers might be trying to lean on each other. Again, desperation calls for desperate measures. A desperate calls for desperate measures. What do you think we'll see if these drivers start getting beaten and banging each other? Because, I mean, these trucks, when they get locked together, it could be catastrophic, and we could see some pretty, catastrophic flips. The way that these trucks crash are very unorthodox.
I think that maybe there's two places I can think of that we've been to during the course of this season so far that you could liken to the hits that could be taken at a track as fast as Homestead. That long stretch heading down to turn 3 at Detroit Belle Isle comes to mind, as well as, of course, the Charlotte back straightaway, heading to the back straightaway chicane at the Charlotte Roval. Those are two very high-speed areas where if you get involved in a wreck, it's more than likely just going to end your day then and there. The speed that these drivers are carrying, while it's not really much compared to a lot of other vehicles to take to Homestead, it's still fast for these stadium trucks, especially as well when they lock up in the 2-truck and 3-truck tandems. So more than likely, I think that if we end up seeing some incidents, it's going to be night over for these guys because, you wouldn't think it, but we've seen the side draft, we've seen the drafting with the tandems take place. Aerodynamics going to be very important here tonight as the 30-lap main event is underway. And another little bit of a curveball for these guys, Anthony. Usually, it's an inverted field from how they finished the B main going into the A main, but no, how they finished in the B main determined the starting lineup for the A main event. That's why Mike Tellier started on pole after winning the B main event.
So now Mike Tellier is going to have to play defense against Parisi, Edmondson, and Edwards as he's gone to the top side. He's going to hold that outside line pretty much still. Here goes Maher up the middle. We saw him trying to make a couple of daring moves last time, but he's going to go 3 wide for 3rd place. Does he hit anybody? Oh, they're going to try and squeeze him up into the middle of the track, but out of turn 4, lap 1 complete. Tellier's going to lead the race, or will he? Here comes Parisi to the inside. Who does Maher go with?
Whoa! Whoa! A little bit of gap whack there as Edmondson's left front or right front, I should say, got awfully close to the left rear quarter panel of Tristan Maher, jumped him up in the air. Look at Maher pushing Conor Parisi through 1 and 2. Tellier's going to jump to the outside with Bill Edwards. And you talked about the possibility of us seeing a full course yellow flag here with it being a speedway. The only thing I'm wondering though is when we go back to the heat race and Mike Tellier ran into an issue, it was a solo truck incident and he was towards the back of the pack, was able to recover the truck. If we end up having just a solo truck incident here tonight, I'm not necessarily certain with how big this 1.5 mile speedway is that we would end up having a caution flag come out. So these guys might have to make sure they're a little bit careful at least early on to keep themselves at least in the running for when we get to the second half of this race and those potential green flag pit stops.
You just have to mind your P's and Q's around the racetrack. Try not to fall outside of this group. That's pretty much your race over. We saw when Tellier had his heat race incident that he basically lost touch with the field, wasn't able to get back up to the group, but I think he's not thinking about that right now. He's just won the first main event race, so he's going to try and double down. Look at Tristan Maher all by himself, 3 wide behind him. Not a care in the world for this 98. Well, now he's got plenty of it to worry about as he's gotten a shot from Bill Edwards down the front straightaway. So do you think that if there's a way to hold off these guys, if you've got to go from the top side to the inside of the racetrack, and here's another thing that we, and I just thought about anyway, you can't... when you're trying to change your direction in this truck, it's not like a stock car or an Indy car. You can't really do that very quickly. So if you're trying to play defense, do you risk an abrupt move to the inside, the outside, even though that might cause your truck to be a little upset?
We saw Mike Tellier do that off of turn 4, the final lap of the B main, and I was absolutely amazed he was able to keep that thing at least somewhat pointed in the right direction to make it back to the start-finish line. It's a risk that you've got to take, I think, in the closing stages of this race, but it's easier said than executed. So, maybe these guys were able to learn a little bit of something of how to be able to control their truck when throwing a block in that B main. They can apply it here in the A main. They've also learned how to use their trucks as a weapon. Door banging Tristan Maher up the track is Conor Parisi. Maher going to lose all that momentum. Now it's going to be Edmondson jumping to the outside of his teammate as they're going to try and control the 2 lines once again.
And now 3 wide behind them. It's going to be between Maher. Valvano has found his way up into the top 3 momentarily. And now the teammates kind of run around parade fashion. If you can't go to the inside, can't go to the outside, well, where do you go? We saw a couple of drivers try the apron, and that would be Bill Edwards specifically. He wasn't able to make it work. The extreme outside line, that's a no-go. You lose too much time. Oh, door banging between the teammates, so they might not be content to run side by side for very long.
Gonna lose them some momentum. Edwards back to the bumper there of Edmondson. I think Edwards wanted to go to the top side in turn 1, but he mistimed the run. Instead, he got into the back of the 58. That stifled his momentum. Now Tristan Maher's got to run with Mike Tellier up top side. Let's go 3 wide for the lead into turn 3 once again. Why not?
and tries to get the run on the. Oh boy, there
Yeah,
was
her, Edmondson.
Parisi used the front end to kind of make his point more clear. Now he's getting left out all by himself. Look at Maher with the run down the outside of the racetrack alongside of Edmondson. I don't think that there was any chance that that was going to work for the long term, but Bill Edwards behind them, he's playing spoiler. He's trying to figure out a way that he can fit his truck between these guys. He might be able to play spoiler for the lead of the race if he uses the chrome horn. He might try to get somebody out of the way, get someone off balance. Look at the outside now. It's double trucks on the outside between Tellier and Maher. Do they have the advantage? It doesn't look like the outside line, though, can get any headway.
Thing I've been seeing here in this main that I haven't really seen most of this race so far, that is the checkups. They are killing momentum. Valvano fell prey to that last time by through turn one, getting into the back of Edwards, who was into the back of Conor Parisi. Also saw, I think it was Tristan Maher fell prey to it a couple of laps ago. So these guys, they are pushing, they are shoving, and when someone in front of them makes a mistake, it's usually that second or third truck in line that's paying the price and losing the positions. Still side by side with Tellier pushing Tristan Maher on the top side. Teammate Parisi trying to help push Edmondson on the bottom. Now more trucks migrate up to the outside line.
Something that I've noticed too is keep an eye on Stephen Cageman. He has ran pretty much at the back of the pack this entire time, about midway, in fact. He's not really stuck his nose into this too much. Now, if you notice the last race, he also did the same thing, and he came up when it mattered the most. Now, we were talking about the temperature of the tires. You think that he's just content to ride around for a little bit, conserve some of his stuff, and then use the equipment that he's conserved to try and take the lead later in the race when it really matters, and he can battle without using up his truck.
Could either be that, or it could be what he just saw up ahead of him. He's found himself a nice little safe haven in the middle of the pack down that inside line. If trouble breaks out, the inside line's probably the safer way to make your way through the wreck. I think he's just content to ride for the time being, kind of weather this storm that's up at the front with this 2x2 racing from first back to the fourth position. And to your point there for Stephen Cageman as well, pretty good numbers so far here tonight. He won his heat race. He finished fourth in the B main, and right now the last truck completing the top 5 as they currently run.
Don't make that double file for the lead of the race. Made that double file for. Oh, I was gonna say something, but I think the Tellier had other ideas. Double file, 2 rows deep, trying to hold on to it. Now they do hold on to it, and now we're gonna link up. Look at that. 4 trucks on the outside line bumping and banging, trying to get to the lead of the race, but still that inside line with the advantage. I wonder what's making the inside line so much more effective, because if I'm not mistaken, we have progressive banking at this racetrack, so you'd think that the outside line would be high, or at least a little more stable going around the track, but I guess it really just comes down to these guys are full throttle. There's nowhere else to gain an advantage if you go up there.
Probably should look somewhere around the track, see if Noah's Ark is standing by, because we're 2x2, 4 rows deep here. Right now, it's Edmondson on the bottom, Tristan Maher on the top. Maher's got Tellier, Edwards, and Valvano with him. Inside line currently with Parisi in second place on that inside line. Stephen Cageman, they did have Garrett Gleason, but he seems to have kind of bowed out of the situation. So now advantage to the top side, 4-3. Gleason back up there again. And Trevor Teal, he's just kind of hanging back there as well, waiting to see what happens in that 72.
Teal's about the safest driver on the racetrack right now if they keep battling like this at the front. Now Tellier battles and tries to push down Maher to the outside, and again, the outside run gets an advantage in the corner entry, but on corner exit, it's definitely the inside line that prevails in the end. We'll have to see if it continues that way almost halfway through this race. And you got to think these guys might be tired. At the end of the first main event race, this would be coming down to 2 laps and make that 3 laps to go when we hit the stripe. We still have another half a race to go, so what do they got to do? Whoa, look at the check that Parisi had. That was interesting.
Pushed way up the track there. I think he might have gotten his 2 tires down the apron, and he came up about a half groove into Mike Tellier. That's broken him away from Edmondson. Advantage now to the top. Tristan Maher trying to clear himself into 1, but Edmondson battles back on the bottom. And something I've noticed here too, people might be wondering why hasn't that outside line been able to get an advantage, because they've got more trucks up on the top than they do on the inside. I think the big thing is when you see these 2 trucks on the bottom of Edmondson and Parisi, when they push up the track, Tristan Maher's trying to give them about a half lane to be able to counter their moving up the track and not make contact with him. That's hurting Mike Tellier, who's entering into the corner about a half groove lower, of being able to line up the bumper through the corners, continuing their forward momentum. So they break apart through the corners, come back together on the straightaway, but by the time they do that, the momentum has shifted to the inside line.
And you saw another example of it going down the front straightaway just now, is that there was momentum by Maher on the outside line, and again, Tellier got separated from him. He lost that momentum, and then came Tellier, and then came Edwards to try and make the advantage of it. You'll see they'll get into a 3-car. Look at the banging that they're doing down the straightaway. That one was almost a bad bump, as that could have ended in disaster for the aforementioned Tristan Maher. Well, actually, that might pay off a little bit, don't you know? He's going to try and go around the outside. Can he get the run? I don't think he's gotten it done this time around, as Parisi's going to pull to the back end again. And that almost paid off, but it might have paid off a little bit better than he was hoping for. They've drawn even down the straightaway.
Gotta wonder here too, obviously in super speedway racing, there's a communication that goes on between drivers. You want to come down pit road with somebody, as Tristan Maher makes some contact there with Edmondson. He goes up the track, and that's going to completely break up the entire outside line. Tellier might take it 3 wide for the lead going into turn 3 here, but you got to wonder about the communication that's going on with drivers of when are we coming to pit road, because you want to come down with as many friends as possible. 4 or 5 trucks are going to generate a lot more speed per lap than one truck out there all by his lonesome. I got a feeling nobody's going to come down pit road with the 58 and the 11. I think they're going to be on an island of their own, so they might have to bring about some rather unorthodox strategy to keep their track position when everything cycles around.
So as they stand right now, no one's been able to figure out a way to get around these two on the inside line. Full credit to them for being able to stay linked together as they're shuffling around outside. And I want to throw this out there, and I think this is what's happening with these trucks, is that these guys might be a bit more on edge than we're giving them credit for, and that when they're trying to push it in the middle of the turns, that's when they're slipping up and the back end starts to wash out and they start going around. That might be because they're so on edge that any little bit of miscue and they're going up to the outside wall, and we're seeing that through the middle of the track specifically. Do you think that the inside line, just by being the faster way around the track, they're able to back off a little bit more and be a little bit more planted going around the inside line and not have that to worry about?
I mean, let's remember what these trucks are built for. They're built for the back end to kind of swing around. If you're on that inside line and you can get that left front tire down that white line, or even better, just below, the back end will kind of kick around like it would taking a turn at a dirt track, like you would at Crandon or you would have at Bark River earlier on this season. So you're able to kind of more dirt track it around that inside line. On the top side, there's a little bit more progressive banking, so when the back end wants to snap around and you try and recover it, it's actually going to push up towards the wall. So I actually think down that inside line, it's better built for what these trucks are actually based off of in terms of the type of racing they're built for.
So we'll have to find out if that will play into the end of the race. We didn't see it play into the end of the race the last time around. Oh my goodness! And that might be what you gotta do.
Save! Holy cow! That truck should have spun. That truck was facing 45, 50 degrees the wrong direction. How Conor Parisi was able to bring that thing back to the right, keep it pointed in the right direction, and still hang on to second place, I have no idea.
That was incredible heads-up driving by Parisi. That truck, for all intents and purposes, was crashing. And wouldn't you look at this, like nothing happened. Sucks right back up to his teammate. They continue their advantage. You gotta admit, for everything that we've said throughout the season, we are looking at the two best drivers in this league right now. Josh Edmondson, Conor Parisi have been inseparable all night long. They have been dominant. Well, more Edmondson than Parisi this season has been dominant all season. You're looking at two world-class drivers, and you just proved again why they are. That truck was crashing. He was heading straight down the inside of the racetrack, would have checked up and hit the outside wall, but he saved it. Still second place, and there's your answer. They do have to pit. They can't make it to the end of the race.
And Maher's going to come down with them. Boy, I saw that 58 get really hard on the brakes. We'll see if he woed it up in time to make pit road speed. Tristan Maher saw they were going low heading for pit road. He's going to come down with them, so that's going to leave 6 trucks out on the racetrack, and you have to assume they're going to be on pit road, if not the next lap, within the next 2 or 3.
And now we'll have to see if they can pit or if they decide to stay out. How long are the pit stops going to be tonight? And I'm not going to change tires. Those would take an eternity, so it's just going to be fuel. Already Parisi's out. He's going to jump his teammate. Edmondson did not have a good stop. He's going to jump out, and that might have been the result of having the slow stop. Maher's going to have a slower stop. Teal's going to stay out, but everyone else behind him comes down pit lane.
Here's Edwards, Tellier, Cageman, Gleason, Valvano. It's going to leave Trevor Teal out on the racetrack all by his lonesome. And in terms of super speedway racing, that's not necessarily a good thing for the 72. You mentioned Conor Parisi getting the jump on his teammate. Now, Edmondson had the faster pit stop by about 0.6 of a second. The difference was, though, Edmondson spent about 2 seconds longer from stall to stall as Conor Parisi did, and that's why Parisi was able to gain the edge. And going back to the point you're talking about there about these two being the class of the field, they're the only two that have gone to victory lane this season, and we've even seen them in the last couple of weeks have some incredible battles. Parisi being able to best Edmondson at Detroit Belle Isle 2 weeks ago. Last week it was Edmondson besting Parisi at the Iowa Road Course. These two have been up at the front all season long. Edmondson's made every start this season. Parisi's run, I believe, 5 or 6 of the races on the schedule, but every race they participate in, they are a threat. But look at this. They are broken up here after the cycle of pit stops. Bill Edwards, the zebra truck, is in the middle of these two. Let's see what he's able to do with these teammates here, closing in on now 8 laps to go.
Bill Edwards just did the most intelligent thing I've seen all season long. That was incredible. What happened was everyone else came off the pit lane, and they all went up onto the top side of the racetrack to try and merge back onto the racetrack as quickly as possible. Bill Edwards, he took the access road that takes you back onto the speedway. That essentially cut off his time by almost a full second. He was able to save, and now he's put himself in the top 3. Now bails out of it, but heads up to Bill Edwards. Most intelligent drive of the race so far.
Now here's the question. Bill Edwards just got passed by Edmondson. If I'm that 50, I'm dropping back to Mike Tellier, trying to get him to push me back up here to the front, because bear in mind, there's still going to be 8 laps to go here in this race. 8 laps to go just happened here because the race leader, Trevor Teal, came to pit road about a lap ago. So these guys were all about a full lap behind the 72 at that point in time. 11 to go will take place when the 11 hits the lines next time by. And those guys back there, Valvano, Tristan Maher, Stephen Cageman, those guys, they're only about a second and a half back, and they've got 3 trucks lined up. We're going to still have 7, 8 trucks in the battle for this victory by the time we get to about 4 to go.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to get away. These leaders are Parisi, Edmondson. We've seen that they can get out in front, but they cannot maintain that much speed, especially if they're going to battle the way they are. You saw Edmondson trying to peek out a line. You know he's not content to run in second place. He wants to cap off his championship win with a win here tonight. He's going to be battling. You're going to have Bill Edwards to be the monkey wrench into these two's plan. You're going to have Tellier coming up through the back not very shortly. You have Maher and Valvano, but what these guys have got to do is they've got to get into a line and they got to push each other. They can't be battling like this if they want to catch up any quicker than they are, so they're going to have to settle out what they're doing, and that might be what they are doing, running side by side. That way they can get draft off the drivers both of the times. Cageman's going to be right behind them. Gleason might be a bit too far back, and I think that we can very respectively write out Trevor Teal. It was a valiant effort to get to the lead of the race under the pit strategy, but has fallen off the group, and I don't know if he'll be able to catch back up. But Parisi still out front. Here comes Tellier. He catch Edwards. Valvano and Maher and Cageman not too far behind. We still have a race on our hands.
Now the question is, you've got the teammates lined up again. Reversed roles, though. Now it's Edmondson pushing Parisi. You talked about Edmondson wanting to close out the season with another victory on top of his championship, but he might be content to try and help Conor Parisi get his 3rd win on the season. The question is, these guys behind him, what do they do? Because we saw Tristan Maher, Mike Tellier, and Bill Edwards try and pass them on the outside line. While they were able to stay alongside for the race lead, they were not able to pass completely and clear for the top spot. They're going to try it again here, but what did they learn in the first half of this race? What adjustment can they make to finally pull off the pass and get one of them up into the front?
It's going to be, I don't know, it's going to try and be, you're going to have to link up with somebody. Someone is going to have to go with you. That much is known. What they're going to have to do is they're just going to have to hope that their truck can stick, because that's what we've seen the most of, is that on the outside line, your truck just doesn't stick as well as it does on the inside. And of course, full throttle, that inside line is going to be the fastest by default. So you're just going to have to copy what they do, maybe even bump them out of the way, or dare I say it, use that inside line. And I'm not talking about the line that they're running right now, that Parisi's running. I'm talking about the ultimate inside line below the white line. That to me is about the only way that they're going to be able to make this pass efficiently. But I say that Bill Edwards got a shot. He's clear. He could try. He doesn't do it though. He had him clear by a little bit. Here's what they needed. They're separated. This is what that Tellier needed and Edwards needed. Get them separated. Edmondson's not too keen on helping his teammate right off.
Think that Conor Parisi was trying to move up, trying to crowd Bill Edwards, and that did not help those two teammates on the inside. Another shove there from Mike Tellier to Bill Edwards, trying everything he can do to push the 50 out to the race lead, and I am fully on board with you. I think that apron is going to be an option for some of these guys. Tristan Maher has now caught back up. Vincent Valvano's caught back up. Stephen Cageman's caught back up. Look out, White Line, because you're going to be a non-factor, I think, here in the final 3 miles of this race. Now the teammates get themselves lined up again. Can the organization take place from third place on back? Can they get around one of these guys trying to get their first win on the season? Parisi looking for his third. Edmondson looking for, I believe it would be his sixth.
And trying to get through. What line do they go with? And you notice that all the other drivers behind them have come back. Whoa, Tellier's out the wall. Tellier's hit the wall. I think that he got hooked by either Cageman or Edwards, and they've gone up and hit the outside wall. Those were battling for first or make that third and fourth. Now they got to link back up, as well as the two teammates battle. Look at Maher through the middle.
He's got Valvano to help him. There was contact between himself and Edmondson. They'll continue to battle for the runner-up spot. Tristan Maher, big run out of 4. Does he go to the apron? He does. Trying to block that off is going to be Conor Parisi. Trying to find a top side as Tristan Maher as Edmondson leads on him. White flag in the air. 1 to go here at Homestead.
Where does Maher use the bumper? I don't think he was trying to use it, but now he's gotten to the inside of Conor, or make that Josh Edmondson. Edmondson gets shuffled back.
Here comes a push. Watch the 22.
Cageman pushing. Whoa, contact, and that's going to be a huge shove down the back straightaway.
That's gonna happen. Oh, Edmondson gets put into the wall. He's gonna collect up Mike Tellier. Here we go, off of 3 and 4. Parisi moves up. Door banging with Tristan Maher. Does Valvano help push? Does he make a move of his own? Here we come to the checkers.
It's gonna be... I don't even know. Who was it? 1/1000th of a second Parisi beat Maher.
Wow.
You could not have been closer.
My goodness.
For all intents and purposes, this is a tie. There is no way those two... There's no way that they were not dead even at the line.
Oh my gracious. I basically just threw up my hands and make an educated guess, waited for the telemetry to come in, because it was just too close to call visibly. And who would have thought that the final lap of the final race of the season was going to come down to 1/1000th of a second? Parisi with win number 3 on the year. It was him and Tristan Maher that came into this race, bear in mind, battling for that second position in the final standings. They finished 1-2 in that photo finish. I don't know if Maher's going to hang on, if Parisi's going to pass him. It may be just as close in the point stands as it was right there at the start-finish line.
Holy cow. We'll have to check the standings later. We have a winner. Look at the two teammates duking it out for the the celebration. As the two of them, they both collectively make up the most amount of A-main wins this season. Parisi gets another tonight by 1/1000th of a second. It could not have been closer. Closest finish, I believe, well, in this series for sure, but wouldn't that make a Flatout Racing Network record as well, I think?
I think it would. I'll tell you what, We've seen, oh shoot, I was gonna say we've seen these stadium trucks do just about everything here tonight that we didn't know they could. I was hoping to see if the teammates would do some dual burnouts there nose to nose, but unfortunately that's not going to be the case there. Is Parisi now gonna adhere the front straightaway to his teammate Edmondson, your champion of the TNR DRP Stadium Super Truck Series, but we knew after the heat races, we knew that the B main was going to be special. After the B main, we knew that the A main was going to be insane. And all three, the heats, B main and A main, deliver here tonight. I'll tell you what, we were surprised that we weren't running the road course configuration tonight. I'm awfully happy that we didn't because this speedway brought about maybe one of the most exciting races on the entire season.
Oh, you could not have scripted that finish. It was just so tight to the line. And the way that you had to run this racetrack, it was different from every race that we've ran so far. These drivers basically had to revert to super speedway racing to get around this track with trucks that are not designed for this kind of racing. We ended up with not only some of the best battles that we've seen this season, we've also ended up with the closest finish you can possibly get in any discipline of racing, unless it was a dead tie, which I still believe it was. But this is incredible stuff at the Oval here at Homestead, Miami. And okay, so road racing, sure. Elite racing, it's for the pros. Oval racing, don't count out oval racing. Oval racing brings about some of the most fantastic finishes and the most fantastic racing you're going to see anywhere in any discipline. And it just got proven tonight how close it can be and how exciting and strategical it can be.
Well, it was pretty difficult to be able to get a freeze frame of just how close that finish was. There it is, folks. That was the difference. And you can kind of see if you look at the front tires, you can see that little bit of an edge that Conor Parisi had over Tristan Maher. Here's another look at it side by side coming to the line. You can see there is an advantage to the 11, but when they were coming back to the stripe at about 120, 130 miles per hour, it was just too close to call live. Now that you got it freeze framed, you can clearly see the winner, but my goodness, what an end to the season.
Oh, fantastic way to cap off a fantastic season. Champion now officially is Josh Edmondson. It was basically official last week. There was still a chance for someone to maybe work their way up in the points, but mathematically, I don't think it was there. But we have officially crowned him our champion now. And we'll have to wait and see who second place in the standings will be and who third and so on will finish out the season. But the season overall, we've seen so many different tracks, a myriad of road, dirt, road course, oval, and we capped it off with probably the most exciting race flag to flag, but also one of the most challenging races that these guys had to go through with the way that you had to run this track. It was so much different than any other race that we had ran this season. It was a clean slate for who had the potential to be in the lead, and we still saw a fantastic run to the line where Tristan Maher just barely misses out of the win by literal inches.
Well, we've done an awful lot of talking here. Why don't we give the opportunity for the drivers to do some talking, many of who I'm pretty sure are just as exhausted as we are. We're going to talk with our top three finishers. We're then going to talk with our champion officially now here tonight, Josh Edmondson. Let's kick things off with tonight's third place finisher, Vincent Valvano. Hey, Vincent, Anthony, and Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
I got you.
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. Up here in the booth, we were treated to a heck of a season finale. But a bit of a curveball for you guys here tonight. Used to the short track of Bristol, the Roval in Charlotte, the dirt tracks of Bark River and Crandon. Here tonight, entirely different animal with super speedway type racing with these stadium trucks. Just how much fun was it out there for the drivers? Because it looked like it was a lot of fun up here from what we could tell.
It was great. It was a blast. The trucks were able to take a lot of contact, and it was like super speedway racing, just like you said, but we were able to bump each other a lot.
Yeah, it was incredible to see the way that you guys were able to wheel it around this racetrack and use the trucks to your advantage. And what was the thing that was the struggle all night long? Because it seemed like the inside line was just undefeated. No one was able to really top that inside line. But what was the struggle around trying to pass, and how planted were these trucks, and how loose were these trucks, rather?
Well, once you got a really big run off the draft, you would start to drift up the track, and it was really hard to keep it low and then make the pass. They were doing a great job keeping that low line nice and tight and not letting anybody around. It was you pretty much go flat out around the track if there was no draft, but the draft was really strong. So when you were coming in with speed, it sucked you right up. I hit the wall a few times, I think.
Now we know that these trucks, they're not built for super speedway racing. A lot of the stock cars you see at Daytona and Talladega, they've got the noses, they've got the bumpers built so that way you can lock them up or be able to give pretty clean pushes down the straightaways. These trucks, they've got a truck-like front. They've got a very different back end and obviously as well a high elevation off of the racing surface. So how difficult was it to line up the bumpers to be able to create forward momentum? Because we saw a couple of times where drivers were having some difficulty getting the bumpers lined up, not to shove the car in front of them, or the truck in front of them, I should say, have them spin around.
Yeah, it was funny. It felt like you were lifting the person in front of you, their tires off the ground sometimes. It was a little difficult. It wasn't too bad though. I think it appears like it would be more difficult than it was. Um, hitting coming together on each side though, the tires would crawl up the other side of the truck, and it was pretty bad to hit side to side. But bump drafting, it was pretty good. It wasn't too tough.
And I'll tell you what, I mean, you guys put on a heck of a show here tonight. A great way for you to end off the season with a third place run here tonight. Congratulations on that. And now we're going to hand the mic over to you to thank some sponsors and do some shout outs.
Thank you to FRN. You guys do a great job, and TNR runs a bunch of great leagues, and there are a bunch of great guys. I have a lot of fun with them. And a big shout out to my friends and family who watch, especially like my mother and brother. Watch every race I do. That's pretty much it. And big thanks to all the fans who watch.
Vincent Valvano ends out the season third place here tonight under the lights in the season finale at Homestead, Miami. Congratulations once again on a great run there, Vincent, and thank you for the heck of a show you guys just put on.
Thanks again, guys.
At our second place finisher here tonight, potentially our second place finisher in the overall standings as well. Let's talk with Tristan Maher. Hey, Tristan, it's Anthony and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Got you guys.
Oh man, I'll tell you what. Photo finishes are exciting to see, but it's heartbreak for the driver that comes up just short. 1/1000th of a second from getting your first win on the season in the finale. I mean, how tough is that to swallow? But on the flip side, just how exciting was it to be a part of something like that in the final race of the season?
This race was a blast. These trucks, I say it every week. No matter where you run them, they're so much fun. That last 10 laps was a little bit nerve-wracking because I messed up my pit stop a little bit. So I lost a lot of ground. Luckily, I was able to catch back up just in time with like 2 laps left. And yeah, that finish was crazy.
It was incredible all the way down to the line, and again, a 1/1000th of a second margin at the end of the race. What did you have to do to put yourself in that position? Because it seemed like that the inside line was just the line to be in, and the outside line just seemed to have no momentum out of the turn or even into the turns. But where were you able to figure out how to get around it? What did it take to finish in this second place position tonight?
Well, one of the key things I think that I was trying to do towards the end of the race was separate Connor and Josh Edmondson. I knew we had to separate them. They were too good. They were bumping in the perfect spots. So for a lot of the race, I was running on the outside of first place. And I could stay with them, but I would never beat them to the line because whoever was in first always had somebody right behind him bumping him off the corner, and he would always beat me to the line. I was able to stay next to him, but I didn't have anybody bumping me as consistent as the bottom line did.
Anthony posed this question to me, and I gave my best educated guess, but I want to go right to the source, right to the driver. He was asking about you came into this race second in the point standings, trying to preserve that, but were you focused on points here tonight, or with the fact that it was really a level playing field and it was super speedway type racing, everybody throw a blanket over the entire field? Was it just focusing on trying to finish out the season with that W, throwing caution to the wind once we got that white flag?
Um, I was a little bit focused on points just because I know the battle for second was pretty close before or between me and Connor. I think he ended up getting it because he has 3 wins on the season now. But regardless, fantastic race. I'm glad. I mean, obviously, I'm bummed out I didn't get the win, but a good finish is always a close second. Yeah, it was a good race.
Absolutely was. There's no doubt about that. Tristan, congratulations on ending out the season with a solid runner up finish and a solid season overall as well. Going to be up there in the podium, at least in the final standings on the year. We're now going to turn the mic over to you for some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
TNR, once again, great league. We got a bunch of series. Check them out. You can join and possibly race with us. Mike Tellier does a good job making the servers and running the league. Garrett Gleason runs TNR. You guys up in the booth, you guys every week do a great job. I always go back and watch the broadcast right after the race. I think that's it.
That's Tristan Maher. This will be a good one to go back and watch, no doubt about that. I can tell you from firsthand experience. He's your runner-up finisher here tonight in the finale at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Congratulations once again, Tristan, and once again, a great finish here tonight. Thank you for giving us that really really neat photo finish.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right, let's go down to victory lane. Let's talk with now three-time winner Conor Parisi. Connor, it's Anthony and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yes, sir.
Man, from the flip side of the 1,000th of a second back in the photo finish to the guy that edges him at the start finish line. Man, I mean, who would have thought that this race was going to come down to the closest finish on the year, about the closest interval you can have at the start finish line? And you had to work for it to here tonight, along with your teammate Edmondson, because obviously the two of you coming into this race, the only drivers that had gone to victory lane on the schedule, and no doubt everybody was wanting to finish out the season with a W as well. How difficult was it to keep all of those hungry dogs at bay?
Oh yeah, this was wicked fun tonight. We are very excited to sweep the series. A little upset that Josh got more than me, but it's all right. But playing the draft game and just trying to be patient but aggressive in this pack really proved to be challenging. I think we're kind of still figuring it out. In the heat, you kind of saw a lot of 3 wide and almost 4 wide action, and then we kind of got it all. I won't say figured out, but we kind of got a little bit more civilized in the LCQ and final, and then that led to some great finishes.
Yeah, this was a fantastic showing for you guys tonight, and really caps off a pretty dominant season that you've had, and also Edmondson had. Trucks coming out of the same stable. It seems like one success will breed another success. But tonight, what was the strategy going in? Was it always to link up with Edmondson and try to push each other to the at least the inside of the racetrack and guard the inside, or was it more or less trying to just block as much as you could, because there was a lot of drivers behind that had an opportunity to try and bump out of the way, but you guys showed a lot of speed on the inside.
Yeah, we always wanted to be together. At one point, we were thinking maybe it'd be better if both of us could, run one lane, someone on the inside, someone on the outside, and block for our lives on both lanes. We couldn't quite get that going in the feature. So Josh was the rear gunner for me coming into that last corner, so I thank him for that, and it worked out for us.
Yeah, one thing that we saw here tonight as well was pit road playing a factor, and while it did spread the field up, everybody accordioned right back up, and we had about 8 drivers with about 2 second separation coming back to the start finish line. But when you kind of consider the pit roads that have come into play during the course of this season, a lot of them either the street courses or the dirt road courses, so not nearly as difficult to get onto pit lane, get the thing woed down, but you've got the high banking to the rather slick flat apron off of turn 4 here, trying to get that thing woed down to pit road speed. So just how much more of a challenge was it to pit here as opposed to the other places where pit road is coming to play?
Oh, it was the hardest one for sure. I spent the whole warm up just practicing pit entry. I could have gone a little bit more aggressive in the final, but I had Josh in front of me. I didn't want to push him into a speeding penalty. I was not expecting Mr. Maher to come with us, so that was a little sketchy. I think we were too wide in the braking zone into there. It all worked out though. No speeding penalties for I guess none of us up at the front at least.
Well, we knew that the points battle between you and Tristan Maher were going to actually be really close. That second position in the overall point standings leaving here tonight, and we'll be waiting for the official word to see. Obviously, the both of you are going to be in the podium for the final standings on the year, but it'll be interesting to see who is slotted where, the two of you involved there in that photo finish as well. So we'll be kind of waiting to find out the finishing results from that one. But man, congratulations on a tremendous way to end out the season. That photo finish here tonight at Homestead, third win on the season, and now we're going to turn the mic over to you for some Victory Lane thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
Well, thank you guys for all these shows. Always fun going back and watching. It's nice to know we have a nice photo finish to watch back later tonight. And then all the admins for putting on the series. Big shout out to Josh for winning the championship. And then all of our partners at Jim Beaver Esports. Winners get whiskey, so it's my turn to pop some fistful of bourbon tonight. We also have Next Level Racing, Polaris Razor, Vision Wheel, and General Tire.
That's Conor Parisi. He ends out the season with his third victory on the year. Photo finish here tonight at Homestead Miami Speedway. Congratulations once again, Conor, and go enjoy this victory.
Thanks, fellas.
All right, let's go down now to championship victory lane. Let's talk with now the official champion of the TNR DRP Stadium Super Truck Series, Josh Edmondson. Josh, Anthony, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Gotcha.
All right, man. I know you wanted to end out the season with your 6th trip to victory lane, but man, what a year for you. 5 wins. You were up in the conversation late in this one at Homestead, but man, I mean, what was the pressure on or was the pressure off in terms of knowing that you had a lot of drivers gunning at you for this victory here tonight, but at the same time, pretty comfortable points gap locking up the championship as soon as you took the green here tonight?
Yeah, since championship was locked up, it was all about going for the win. I was even joking with Connor in the Discord that I wasn't helping him those last few laps. I was going for the win. But yeah, unfortunately, it didn't work out for me. It's cool he got it though. That was quite a finish. Him and Tristan won 1,000th away. That's pretty cool, and it's good for the team to still get the win too. So I'm happy. That was actually a lot of fun racing those trucks around there. The draft was like huge at times, but you still had to lift. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, all throughout the season, we saw that you had impressive runs and really dominating in the first half of the season, and then had a little bit more challenges throughout the middle way of the season. But I just got to ask, as a season as a whole, what was your strategy going into it, and how was it the entire way? Because it definitely was a myriad of ups and downs.
Yeah, no, it was really good for me. I just try and win every time, just focus on that when I hit the track and not worry about the other stuff. Started out, like you said, winning, which was good. And then, yeah, building up a good points cushion to where I didn't really have to worry about it was nice. But I wasn't really expecting to win at all the tracks when I looked at the schedule. I was very confident in the dirt tracks, which I drive a lot. But the road courses and the ovals, I wasn't as much. So to get a win at Bristol and then also at, I believe, the Roval and then whatever that last road course we did was, those were probably some of my best races that I was really proud of.
You talked about, the fact that you were telling your teammate Connor there you weren't going to be working with him there in the final couple of laps of this race. It looked like, though, early on you guys had a strategy. You pretty much locked down the inside line. At one point, you both were actually controlling the inside and the middle line as well. But uh, a couple of times we ended up seeing that the rest of the field got you guys broken up. I mean, when you're in that kind of a position, how difficult is it to get lined back up again to be able to get back up to the front? Because we kind of saw that this was not only a race in terms of super speedway with draft related, but also in terms of momentum. And it seemed like it would take a little bit of time to get that momentum back.
Yeah, it really was. It was a chess match, and we learned that holding the bottom was better in the heat race when Connor and I were working together a little bit, and those guys hooked up on the bottom lane and just drove by us, and we weren't able to do anything about it. Couldn't get the bottom back again. So definitely knew going into that main event that that's what we wanted to do, was try and control that bottom. But like you said, we got broken up. Tristan made a great move those last few laps to split us up. I was going to try and get the outside. He put us three wide. That was smart on his part. So we couldn't control the front or work together anymore. I couldn't get back down to the bottom at all after that. So yeah, it was definitely a chess match and a lot of fun.
No, it's not the way you wanted to end out the season. Seventh place here tonight at Homestead, but still the champion in the TNR DRP Stadium Super Truck Series. An unbelievable season for you, Josh. Congratulations. And we'll now turn the mic over to you for some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Definitely shout out you guys doing the broadcast. You guys do a great job. It's fun to go back and watch them. And then everybody in the league that put it on, Mike and all the guys, TNR. That's it's a cool group of guys, and it's a lot of fun to race. So I'm looking forward to next season. And then I got to thank everybody on the team: Jim Beaver Esports, Fistful of Bourbon, Winners Get Whiskey, General Tire, Polaris Razor, Vision Wheel, Next Level Racing, and Dirtfish.
He'll be heading into next season as the defending champion as he locks up the championship title here tonight at Homestead. Josh Edmondson, your champion in the TNR DRP Stadium Super Truck Series. Congratulations once again, Josh. Go and enjoy this championship, and best of luck next season as you try to defend it.
Will do. Thanks, man.
My goodness, please bring Homestead Miami Speedway back on the schedule next season. That's all I can say because, man, we were treated to a heck of a season finale here tonight. From the drop of the green flag from the first heat all the way to the checkered flag of the final A main event. I mean, Anthony, I think we basically have said it all here tonight. I don't know if there's a whole lot more to add, but man, what a job by these drivers here this evening as well, because we ended up having in the A main the green flag pit stops. They all executed it. They all got wadded back up, all running nose to tail to catch back up to the top three. Then we had a group of five. Then we had a group of eight. We had that photo finish there at the end. I mean, what more can you ask for a season finale?
Uh, I don't know, maybe a ramp or two. I think that might have been no. There was nothing that you could have added to this
I'm not
race.
adding two truck tandem off a ramp to my bucket list.
No, no, no. There was nothing that you could have added to this race to make it any better. I think that we got the perfect season finale for one of the most inclusive seasons we've seen for a dirt or stadium truck series in its entirety. And I think that, yeah, we should bring more oval races to these trucks. A mile and a half, I think, are the perfect length to get these kind of races. Anything longer than this, I don't think that it would be conducive to this kind of truck. So, but yes, definitely, please, let's bring these kind of races back. And I think that I have a couple of tracks that are contenders, but 1/1000th of a second finish, I don't think you're going to top that.
How about the teammates there sweeping the entire schedule? 5 victories for Edmondson, 3 for Conor Parisi. There's no doubt in my mind they are going to be public enemy number one, the guys that everyone's going to be gunning for when we head into the new season. Of course, Edmondson as defending champion. Everybody wants to topple the championship when the new season begins.
Absolutely, yeah. The new season, it comes in with the two teammates, like you said, basically running the table. So now, what do these other guys got to do? Guys like Cajun and Maher, Telly, or what do they got to do to step up and try to beat these two? And it's now they have some experience again going into a next season. What can they do? What tracks are we going to run at? The season may look completely different. We don't know, but there's a lot of question marks, but we do know a few constants. And I think the one constant is that there is going to be a myriad of tracks that you're going to have to learn how to drive, and it's going to suit different drivers, but you're going to have to take down Parisi and Edmondson.
Well, with the final checkered flag waving here for the Stadium Super Truck Series under the TNR banner, it's going to end our myriad of Tuesday night double headers for a time. We'll be going back to the TNR Master Midway Big Block Series for the next 2 weeks as they're getting ready to wrap up their championship. But once again, what an unbelievable finish. Final lap, final race here at Homestead Miami Speedway, 1/1000th of a second, the closest finish on the season. Conor Parisi taking the win, his teammate Josh Edmondson locking up the championship in a thriller here tonight. Anthony, it's been a great doubleheader here this evening with the big blocks and the Stadium Super Trucks. Unbelievable racing at both Knoxville and Homestead. Appreciate you joining me for both of these races, and man, I'll tell you what, these guys bring back a new season. I'm going to be really excited to see how they're going to try and top what they were able to do here tonight.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see if they have another one. And if they do, buckle in. This is going to be an incredible season.
Thanks to everybody that joined us here tonight and joined us for the course of this season. We hope you guys have enjoyed our coverage of the TNR DRP Stadium Super Truck Series. Again, join us next Tuesday night as we continue on the season for the TNR Master Millwright Big Block Series at Weedsport. But for Anthony McCurry, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night, folks, as you've been watching yet another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.